Joining me now is author and political commentator Shamika Michelle.
When God looked at man, he said it's not good for man to be alone. He gave him a woman. He didn't give him a village. He didn't give him the community. He said, be fruitful and multiply to this man and this woman. So it's supposed to be God, husband, wife.
If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always done.
Wednesday. Welcome to Shaking My Head with Shamika Michelle. I am your host, Shamika Michelle. And I have a question to ask. If you were donating to an organization and you believed the mission was urgent, you thought what you were doing was urgent, there was an urgent need, we got to get the word out because our word, our way of thinking, it's so important. It's so necessary. This work needs to be done, and I need to do what I have to do to help fund it. Would you expect, if you felt so urgently, that the money you were donating would just be invested and held long term? Or would you think it should be deployed immediately? That's the question I want you all to ask yourselves. If you were a donor, would you just be giving, thinking it's so important, it's so urgent, yet your money is just sitting around? It's being invested, not actually deployed. Today, we're talking about Turning Point's endowment and what the filings show. I want to show you this video because, listen, I'm not the only person interested, concerned, want to know what's going on, nosy. I like to call it inquisitive, but I'm not the only one. Let me show you this video because people are asking questions. The problem is Turning Point, they don't want to answer those questions. And so they're making people feel silly. Oh, what are you doing? I'm going to tell you about a call that I received on yesterday as soon as we finished broadcasting. But first, let's watch a little bit of this video.
Well, one of Charlie Kirk's last company-wide directives was to carry out a Doge-style audit at Turning Point USA. He confided that there were significant money problems, possible embezzlement, maybe fraud. He wanted to get to the bottom of it. Why were they burning through cash so quickly? It seems odd. Here's the memo that he sent to staff just 8 days before he was assassinated on September 2nd. He wrote this, and he lays out in this memo his plans for the audit. He tasked his new COO, Justin Stariff, with assembling a team to boost efficiency, cut costs, align metrics, reshape the company culture. Insiders knew that what was going on, and they said that Charlie was concerned about how they were burning through so much cash so quickly. Where was all this money coming from? And by the way, where was it all going? Was it being spent on vendors, like ridiculous amounts for vendors at different live events? Like, where was all this money going? Then right after his death, investigative journalist Brian Ferentz, right after his death, Brian Ferentz wrote this. Investigative journalist Brian Ferentz said, maybe we should be transparent about the TPUSA donor list, what foreign countries they represent, where the money went, and why Tyler Boyer canceled the Doge-style audit and culture change Charlie Kirk ordered as his last wishes. Yeah, why would Tyler Boyer cancel Charlie's final big wish, a big company-wide directive? It's kind of odd, isn't it? To audit all of this funny money, wouldn't you want to get to the bottom of that? It's not just investigative journalists like Brian asking these questions. Now dozens of longtime TPUSA donors are asking and saying the very same thing. They've been making public statements about it online. They're pulling their donations because they smell something funny going on here, and they want answers. They want answers about Charlie's death. They want answers about the money, where it was going, where it was coming from, all of that. Journalist Brian Ferentz is back on the show, and it's great to have you back, Brian. Thank you. Man, you've really run.
Yeah, we're asking questions, okay? People want to know what's going on, and it's a bit frustrating that we can't get any answers, or that people want to stop you from saying whatever it is that you're saying. It's really silly. It's ridiculous because hey, if there's nothing shady going on, then you don't have a problem with people asking questions. On Monday, we talked about donor expectations versus what the filings show. Just putting it out there, like things that are publicly available for anyone to research, for anyone to look at. Yesterday we talked about the nonprofit maze and all of the different organizations and what they do, how much money is coming in. We spoke about that on yesterday, and I told you all it was like a web. And the reason why I'm walking through this so slowly is because it took the person who did this investigation a long time, because no single filing shows all the answers, right? It doesn't tell the whole story. So we talked about the nonprofit maze, and somebody said, I'm leaving you all hanging. And it's simply because I saw a video that Candace put out, and she was saying, I'm not an accountant. I'll play that video a little bit later. But I want people to make sure that they understand exactly what's going on to the best of my ability. This wasn't something that I could just do in an hour, not even in a week. Because when I say it's a tangled web, it's a tangled web. And I also need you all to understand this investigation wasn't done after Charlie died. It's been updated since he died with some things. As I told you there was a tax return just done in November, some papers filed in November. I shared that with you all on yesterday. This wasn't done as a result of Charlie Kirk's death. This was done or started a couple of years before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. There have been some concerns, some issues well before then. And it was good to come across this video that shows Charlie also was inquisitive. He wanted to know what was going on. And I told you all, as I looked over all of this information, it answered a lot of questions for me. Things that I had been seeing over the last 3 months that just felt weird. They struck me as odd. When I saw this, I said, oh my goodness. It made a lot of sense. Made a lot of sense to the actions that I've been seeing people over the last 3 months. Things that I really didn't pay much attention to. Again, if Charlie had not been assassinated, I don't know if I would have been as interested in this information, but it arrived in my inbox at the right time. Again, I know this person. This is what they do on a regular basis for a living. So they had this stuff. I just happened to be the one saying, I'm willing to actually put a voice to it and use my platform to do it. Because if you're a podcast channel and you're known for a particular thing, it would kind of be hard to take the time to break this down. Your audience is used to something specifically, and then you come in with, hey, look at this that I got from this investigation about these finances at Turning Point. Like, the timing is perfect right now. And because my channel is small, it's perfect for the head shakers. Okay. I'm gonna show you a video, like I said, that Candace did. alive, just a little clip. But today we're going to talk about what happens when the money stops moving. And I want to be clear, this is not about something being illegal. It's about priorities. And I say that because I got a call as soon as the broadcast ended yesterday. Apparently, someone sent the broadcast in a group chat that has some Republican members, has some members of TPUSA, and it was somebody needs to contact her and tell her this is legal. Pretty much to get on the phone and call me and downplay what I'm doing and to act as if I'm stupid and there's nothing to see here while fire is in the background. There's nothing to see here. First of all, let me be clear. You have no idea what's to see here because I've been going through it step by step by step. If I tell you I have a 27-page investigative document in my possession, I'm telling you that's exactly what I have. If I'm telling you I know this investigator personally and I've seen his work and I understand that what he puts out is true because he has done a thorough investigation, I'm not lying about that. One of the things I also know is that Candace is aware of this information as well. She was going to feature this investigator on her show. However, he likes playing the background. He doesn't have a social media presence. That wasn't his intentions. He didn't want to be famous or popular for bringing this information. He wanted to play it in the background. He wanted to play the background, like, singing in the background. He wanted to stay in the background. You know how many a times you hear a hit song and, all you're focused on is the artist, but you have no idea who's singing in the background? He wants to sing in the background. And he called in a favor to get Candace to not actually feature him and his work because he wanted to sing in the background. But I'm letting you know that she's aware of this and she knows this information. Maybe she'll eventually cover it. Maybe she won't. Looking at her video, she doesn't seem to be too interested in covering it. She has said she's not an accountant. I'm not an accountant. Of course, my daughter is going to school for that. She's working on her master's right now. But it's a lot of information, guys. I'm not pulling your leg on that. It's a lot of information, and there are a lot of people who are interested. And so much so that little old me got a call yesterday that there's nothing to see here. I should just, I don't know. I don't know if they didn't really know me. Like, I can't be, there's nothing to see here out of something that I have actually seen with my own eyes. Now, listen, if because I was also said, I told donors don't care. This is how it works. This is what organizations do. We've already talked about this. I told you all, I think on Monday, that if you see some of these other political organizations with nonprofits, they're probably doing this same, I would say, BS. But they're engaging in these same shenanigans. So yes, this may be typical. This may be what they do, but I'm telling you, donors are concerned. This is why some donors are pulling their money. This is why donors are asking questions. In that video that we only watched a portion of, it goes into a lady saying she gives $25,000 a month. And she said it as a year, I'm sorry, $25,000 to TPUSA a year. And she said it as if $25,000 may not be that much money, but she gives it and she wants to know where it's going. In my world, $25,000 is a significant amount to donate to an organization yearly. I understand that there are people who give a lot more than that. But the idea that there is nothing to see here is ridiculous. There's everything to see here. And if you have the time, if you have the interest, we're going to be going step by step, which is why I haven't called any names yet. And I'm saying yet because you will recognize some of these names. Israeli American businessmen, you may not recognize their names. I didn't. They're in the document though, and I'm going to give it to you. But a couple of these influencers, a couple of these top people at TPUSA, you'll recognize their names. And then you'll also find out more information about them that some people just did not know because they haven't taken the time to look at these things under a microscope. Again, I told you yesterday that in their arrogance, they thought no one would ever take the time to look this stuff up. So let me tell you, there's no need, if there's nothing to see here, there's no need to actually call me or get someone to call me to tell me that in this 27-page document, there's nothing to see here if there's actually nothing to see. Okay? You don't need to do that. Just let me do what I'm doing and understand there's nothing to see here if there's actually nothing to see. I don't need to get any calls, okay? Don't need to get any calls. Don't put someone out on it to get me to stop. It's not going to happen. Y'all don't know me, and that's fine. But I'm letting you know, because you don't know me, clearly you don't understand that I can't be easily turned around. One of the things my high school Bible study teacher says about me when she brags about me, Shamika is the type of person that believes what she believes until she doesn't believe it anymore. She's not easily turned around. She's going to stand 10 toes down on what she believes. And if someone who has known me more than, or probably most of my life, because we all grew up in the same church, can't turn me around, don't get somebody who hasn't known me that long to call me. It's not going to work, okay? It's a waste of time, a waste of your time, their time, and mine. If there's nothing to see here, let me continue to present to the head shakers nothing to see, okay? Let's just do that. Let's agree to that. Let me show you all this video because, again, people are asking questions. And I have this on mute. Let's try it again.
USA. I should have thought about that, but I feel like that's more like a Fed question. And I was trying to focus on like Turning Point USA questions. Did they address the issues with the finances and taxes? They brought an entire tax document thing for me to look through. I'm not an accountant, which is why I haven't spent much time talking about their finances other than the Doge thing, which I was like, that was a weird lie. I don't understand like why Tyler would say that that's like something that he had always done. And they owned that that was not something that they had always done. So again, this is the stuff why I feel like we could have benefited from doing a public like live stream, because they did own a lot of the stuff. I should have thought about that,
Again,
but I feel like that's more like a
Candace isn't an accountant, neither am I, but an accountant actually took the time to investigate Turning Point USA's accounts, multiple accounts, as we have discussed. Again, if you're not interested, move along. That's fine. But I'm telling you what I know to be so. And I'm going to give you everything that I have. I'm going to slow walk it, but I'm going to give it to you. I'm not intentionally keeping you hanging. All right. I literally want you to understand what's taking place. And I want to honor the work of the person who put in so many hours that I don't want to just make this some salacious gossip that I drop and not honor the time and effort they put into this. Like, we've discussed this. I've talked to them on the phone. We're on the same page. Giving them the respect I feel like they deserve, or just to acknowledge their hard work. But I'm gonna give it all to you all, I promise. So what is an endowment? I want to take you back to yesterday when we went through the organizations to remind you that Turning Point has Turning Point Endowment Incorporated. Their EIN is 82-1225311. Effective date is February 2018. The mission of the endowment is to support and benefit TPUSA's charitable purposes and long-term vitality. Remember, I told you to note it has 0 employees. And in just a 4-year time period, from 2018 to when this actual investigation began, it went from $1.8 million. In just over 4 years, it went to $50.6 million. According to an 11/20/25 update to this document, they had just filed the latest tax return. They now hold $63 million in investments. They donated $1.2 million to TPUSA. They show an occupancy expense of $109,000, which shouldn't be, since this organization's only function is to manage the endowment, and it has 0 employees. Remember that. Keep that in mind. Some things just shouldn't be. So, what is an endowment? An endowment is a pool of invested assets, typically used by universities and hospitals and long-established charities. The purpose is long-term stability, predictable income via investment returns. Predictable income via investment returns. Endowments are legal and they are common. Don't get anybody to call me, because we're going to get to eventually why this information is important. Don't call me. I'm not stopping until I'm done. Well, it's legal. I understand that. Endowments are legal and common, but they are not neutral. They reflect long-term strategy. So you have to ask yourself, why do they have all of this money sitting in an investment fund, which only functions to manage the endowment and has 0 employees? Why there's so much money there. It appears that the Turning Point endowment functions less like an independent charity and more like a financial silo for TPUSA. By shifting tens of millions into an entity with no employees, no grants, and virtually no expenses, leadership locks up donor money in long-term investments while still extracting executive compensation. Do you hear what I'm saying? Still extracting executive compensation. We're going to get to that. This structure serves two purposes. It allows TPUSA to stockpile wealth and reward insiders. We talked about stockpiling wealth, okay? And reward insiders while also masking the true size of its holdings. For example, instead of showing $100 million in investments on its main charity, the money is split between TPUSA and the endowment, making its accumulation of donor wealth appear more modest and less likely to draw scrutiny. This is why we started with the different organizations on yesterday. So again, they're legal and common, but they aren't neutral. And you have to look into and ask or wonder why they are doing this. These are just the facts, what the filings show. Okay? They have separate nonprofit entity. This is a separate nonprofit entity. This is what the facts show. The facts show it has 0 employees. The facts show tens of millions of dollars in investments. Those are the facts. Minimal or no grants paid out. These are just the facts. Assets largely transferred from the main charity. These are just the facts. This entity exists almost entirely to hold and grow money. And remember, I just talked about the fact that it's still extracting executive compensation, right? But it seems like it is just there to hold and grow money. That's something for us to think about and look into and be concerned about. This is not there's nothing to see here thing that's happening. Now, whether Charlie was actually in on it or whether Charlie was concerned and this was just bigger than him and he was trying to get a hold on it and he wanted to know what was going on. Somebody give me some answers. I don't know. I am not friends with Charlie. I've never talked to Charlie. We've never I have no communication with Charlie Kirk. So I cannot tell you what his thoughts were. Not my magic mouse disconnected. Let me try as I talk to get some juice on my mouse. I have no idea how Charlie felt about certain things. Okay. So I don't want to pretend like Charlie and I were friends or that I talked to him or that somebody that talked to Charlie told me. I don't know how he felt about it and what part he played in this money aspect is just speculation. He could have been clueless. He could have been aware and wanted to pretend like he was clueless. Or he could have been completely clueless. I just don't know. I'm just giving you what the facts on the filings present. We talked yesterday about the purpose of actually creating these separate entities. And so, why create a separate endowment entity? We talked about this on yesterday. There are legitimate reasons. I'm not saying that there aren't. There are legitimate reasons. Asset protection, long-term planning, reduced volatility, governance separation. These are legitimate reasons for having a separate endowment. I just want to be fair. I'm not trying to be unfair in my presentation. These are legitimate reasons. My question, though, is if this is an urgent mission, why is so much money being parked? Because this is what we're constantly told. Every election cycle, this is the election that we have to pay attention to. This is so important. I've sat in donor meetings, not with TPUSA, but I've been in donor meetings or fundraisers where people are raising money, and there's always a sense of urgency presented. Why we need you to write the check today. There's always a sense of urgency. So this idea that is being presented as no big deal, well, we'll get around to your money whenever we get around to it, is a lie. There's always a sense of urgency. And I know this from my own experience because I've sat in these fundraisers. I've spoken at some of these fundraisers. I've been flown across the country to speak at fundraisers, to appeal to the donors about the urgency of whatever is coming up politically, that, hey, we need these funds. We need these funds to do more work. We need these funds to do greater work. We need these funds so that the work is actually on a certain level to garner interest. There's always a sense of urgency. So my question is, why is it sitting around? If it's so urgent, why is so much money being parked? We're going to get to the executive compensation. Why this money is being parked if it's so urgent. I want to explain to you that when assets move, when the assets are moved, I'm having some mouse issues. When the assets are moved to an endowment, it makes them less visible. That's a reason for moving money to an endowment. It makes them less visible. They are less scrutinized unless you have an investigator who takes the time, such as this one, to pull the web apart and look at multiple filings, because a single filing doesn't tell the whole story. And it shows that there's this is, the cash isn't available for the certain programs. Money placed in an endowment is, by design, removed from day-to-day mission work. You don't put money in an endowment for day-to-day mission work. But I just told you how much money is sitting or that they are putting on their filings for the endowment. So, how does this change the donor's story? What difference does it make that on this filing in 2025 that they hold $63 million in investments? Why should the donors want to know that? Why should the donors want to know that it shows an occupancy expense of $109,000, which shouldn't be, there's nothing to see here, which shouldn't be if this organization's only function is to manage the endowment and it has 0 employees. There's nothing to see here. And I'm not accusing, kind of, sort of, not accusing you. But I feel like donors are, I want to know, were donors told that their funds would be invested long term? If you're a donor, hit me up. I want to hear from you. Were you told that your funds would be invested long term? Or did you sit somewhere with some good food and some wine and somebody coaxing you to pull out your checkbook? Or, I know that's old school terminology, because this stuff was urgent. Like, did you know that your money, exactly where it was going? I want to know, would you give differently if you knew? I'm not giving thousands of dollars. I'm not even giving hundreds of dollars. Told you I'm flown across the country to convince other people to give. And I do that because I sincerely feel like the mission is urgent. I sincerely care about America. I sincerely want the country to be recognizable to me when I have grandchildren. I want my grandchildren to experience the America that I experienced. I've told you all before, when people say things like, when was America ever great? When they get mad if I'm wearing my Make America Great Again hat or paraphernalia, or because I'm not offended by the term. America was once great to me. So when I step on a stage or if I'm at someone's house, and listen, a lot of these donors got some nice houses, things that I've only seen in the movies. But when I'm there and I'm talking about a mission, and I'm talking about how passionate I am about the mission, that's sincere. I would never, ever take the time away from my family to go and pretty much beg for money if I knew that something nefarious was happening or going on. I wouldn't do that. I would not want my name attached to that type of foolishness. So if donors would give differently, if they knew this information, I'm putting the information out there and letting the donors decide. Let the chips fall where they may and the donors decide. Is the urgency message consistent with the asset accumulation? That's what I want to know. because there's a difference between building stability and stockpiling wealth. So when something to me, listen, maybe y'all shouldn't be getting people, you know what I'm saying, that you feel like are from the wrong side of the tracks. Because a lot of times us from the wrong side of the tracks, we're not used to a bunch of lies. We're not used to a bunch of finagling and trying to do things behind the scenes. We are some very honest, upfront, real people. Again, I started a whole group called the Naked Girls, women who vowed to live open, honest, and emotionally exposed. I've told y'all so many things about my life that you wouldn't know had I not revealed it. So maybe y'all shouldn't get people from the other side of the tracks. I know it looks good in your donor meetings, which is why sometimes you bring us in. But so many of us are doing this because we sincerely believe what we're saying. We're telling you and sharing our lives because we are sincere. This isn't a game to us. We don't play dress up and just go so that we can with our pinkies up. Eating drinking tea and having crumpets just for show. We genuinely want to see people have better lives, us included. So if you want us to buy into that there's nothing to see here, don't use us for some BS. And again, I've sat in enough fundraisers to know that there's a sense of urgency. And for me, there's a difference in building stability and stockpiling wealth. So this is why before I get to names, I'm breaking down structure to people, for people to understand. For me, it was a, oh my goodness moment. It was a shaking my head moment, which is why it's on Shaking My Head with Shamika Michelle. It answered a lot of questions, as I told you all, as to why people are being so volatile and hateful right now. During this time, people have something to hide. And it's not a far-fetched idea that Charlie Kirk was in the way. When you hear and see the amount of money that this organization is bringing in consistently, it is not a far-fetched idea to think that Charlie could have been in the way. Charlie could have known something he wasn't supposed to know, or that there are people involved with TPUSA that's up to no good. It's not a far-fetched thing to think. When you see this money, most of us will never even see a fraction of this type of money in our lifetime. So you really don't know what people are capable of when they've gotten a taste of the good life. You don't know what they're capable of. I got a taste of some really good caviar at a fundraising event. Don't bring me no trash caviar no more. I don't want trash. Don't I don't want the bottom shelf caviar. Bring me the good stuff. And the waiters coming around serving as we stood around can tell you I gobbled that stuff up. It was delicious. And because of that, don't bring me something less or lesser. I don't want that. So you have no idea what someone will do when they've had a taste of the good life and they don't want somebody to mess it up. When they are paying their mortgage or buying multiple homes and boats and not having the stress. Y'all have watched true crime events. Come on, this stuff is not far-fetched. The things that people will do for a little bit of money. People will do some strange things for change, and this ain't change. It's far from just being change. So before we talk about who gets paid, we have to understand where the money sits. Otherwise, nothing else makes sense. So I want you all to understand, I'm not purposely leaving you hanging. I got a ratchet little girl on the inside of me that just want to, to like a little gossip with my tea and crumpets. I just drop it on you, drop some names. But unless we go through this, it doesn't really make sense. It's so much stuff. So much stuff that you hear Candace saying, like, I'm not an accountant. And they brought some tax filings, a lot of stuff, but I'm not an accountant. And people just throw some stuff at you. It's easy to get overwhelmed and not pay attention. But this person actually took the time to break it all down, and I'm going to take the time to break it all down as well. Let me see if I got enough juice in my mouth to read some of your comments. Hi, Carolyn, Thomas, Sharisa. Nicholas J says, possibility, hear me out. Candace Owens didn't flip. She was just putting up a facade because she wanted Erica herself to see how TPUSA views her by breaking the agreement. Okay. Her husband, did you put the rest of this out, Nicholas J? Yeah, I don't think Candace flipped at all. Hi, Kai C9588. Yeah, I don't think she flipped. I don't know if you put the rest of this here. YouTube will cut it off if your comment is too long. Hi, Miguel. Stimulated students. Miguel, you gonna make this man name be Carlos, ain't you? I wasn't aware of who Carlos Kirk was either until September 10th. And when I saw him being glorified as a man of churchianity, I started looking into who he was associated with or what he was associated with. And he means Charlie. But I think it's funny because he gonna make his name be Carlos. Shamika can't be turned around easily. She's nobody's fool. Absolutely. Hey, thank you for coming back. David Gerald 133 says probably because it takes millions to fight to upcoming fights. You people act like the left is dead, like 2026 and 2028 aren't around the corner, and like the left will never be in charge again. No, I think somebody like myself understands that the left isn't dead, which is why, because the left isn't dead, the right cannot be full of shit. We have to be organized and not buying houses and boats and jewelry and standing around eating tea and crumpets when we're standing in people's faces saying, hey, The left is alive and well. And yes, 2026 and 2028 are right around the corner. And if there are people doing things that they have no business doing, that needs to be exposed so donors can actually put their money into organizations or towards people that are actually trying to get the work done, not just, getting top shelf caviar at their homes, their multiple homes, working 10 hours and getting six-figure salaries. Donors should know that. Again, I'm just going to put the information out there. Stimulated student says lobbying is common and legal, but that doesn't mean that lobbies should be ignored. Miguel, every time I see Carlos, I'm going to smile. Even before Carlos was martyred, I've told people that I like Candace, but we need to be discreet with her because she tells half truths and she's a rich mouthpiece for the Vatican. Thomas Bailey says, so just as I presumed 501c3 are money funneling, money shelter organizations. We're going to get into some of these, I hate to even say shell companies, but that's what's happening here. But I'm going to walk you through it so you all can see and know for yourself. Drink some juice, Shamika. Snapple apple is refreshing. Miguel says, why do y'all think these politician puppets want to get in the game and stay in it in order to get that generational wealth? Absolutely. And they're definitely bringing it in. Or water hydration is very important. You know why I feel some type of way, Thomas, with you saying this to me right now? Because I'm going to get a drink right after the show. And I should be drinking more water right now. I'm going for some tea and crumpets. Right after the show. No employees, then who has signature to its affair? D something says you're focused on the wrong organization, dummy. Well, guess what, fat man in your profile picture? Fat, light skin, out of style man in your profile picture. We'll let the people decide. Okay? We'll let the people decide. If there's absolutely nothing to see here, there's nothing to see here. We'll let the people decide. Okay? So let me continue to be a dummy. Some of y'all don't listen. You think because you send some big, fat, light skin that'll never have catch a second glance in my eyeballs will turn me around? It won't work. I'm going to be here tomorrow. Head shakers. Same place, same time. Candace stood on business and they exposed themselves again. Absolutely. My phone is ringing. Guys, no need to call me. No need to call me. Stimulated student says it ain't about the left being dead. Wherever you stand, it's not good to stand on lies and deception. Without transparency, we don't have real elections and we will not be a free people. Absolutely. Melina, hello, is reminding you all, leave a like under the video, head shakers. We really appreciate it. Julia Collins says, should we be rooting for the biggest widow or the black white supremacist? I'm gonna go with the black white supremacist. Okay, that's where I stand. Only you can make my dreams come true. Only anyway, y'all, I gotta go. I am about to be out of here. I'll be here tomorrow, same place, same time, still shaking my head. No matter who you all get to call my phone, no matter who hops in the comments, I'm going to be shaking my head on this. I want to know why is Turning Point stockpiling millions, not a few thousand, millions. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Millions. And next week, we're going to follow the money out of this structure and look at the vendors and contractors who benefit from it. You know why? There's nothing to see here. Peace. I love y'all.